Hi everyone, welcome back to Iron Griffin Studio. Right, somebody asked me about snow bases, so I figured I would do a quick mini midweek video on how to, or at least how I do snow bases. My method I find is quite cost effective, quite quick, which is good for me, and quite simple I think. I've got a lot of space wolves and they look great on snow bases, and I do a lot of snow bases. So I'm going to do a few different methods. I'm going to use a 32mm base and a 40mm base just so you can really tell the difference between them on camera. And the 32mm base is going to be a little bit rockier, and I'm going to use a certain kind of snow method. And then the other base, the 40mm base, will be a little bit muddier, and maybe I'll use a different method for snow. I'm going to use some woodland scenics snow flock, which I've got on the shelf over there. So yeah, I'm going to do two different kinds of bases, both of which will kind of produce a pretty good wilderness-based, snowy, cold kind of base. And a base is really important, I think, to a model, because it can take it to the next level. It can really kind of step it up, and it's a really important step if you want to produce a great-looking army. So yeah, let's get to making some snow bases, shall we? Alright, so let's use some slate. I'm just going to use some regular kind of garden slate that I found at a garden centre, but you can buy this stuff online. I think they do it in kind of small bags and things on eBay. I'm just going to add a few pieces to each base. This gives the base a little bit of weight, which is good for maybe some top heavy models, and it keeps them upright, which is handy. And just going to use some hot glue to stick them down. Slate is a really good analogue for miniature rocks. It's got like great texture to it, which scales down very, very nicely. Next, we're going to add a little bit of PVA glue to the entirety of the smaller base. And feel free just to use a little cocktail stick or something to get in all the little crevices. You want to cover that whole thing. Next, we're just going to drop it in some sand, basing sand of any sort, just to give it a little bit of texture. Alright, so on the larger base, I'm going to use some acrylic texture by Vallejo. And this is just the earth texture. It comes in a variety of colours. I think there's sand and mud and things. But this is the one I have, and you've got to make sure that when you put this on you don't leave any strange textures in the surface, because it will cure like that and it will be apparent on the model after it's dried. So I'm just doing my best to smooth off a little bit the earth texture there. Next, after I've undercoated them with a bit of black primer, I'm just going to very, very heavily dry brush the stonework, the slate, with a very dark grey. I'm using a Skaven Blight dinge for this, and it's practically almost black and you can hardly see it on camera, but it's definitely worth doing as a step. And then I used Administratum Grey, or any medium grey really will do this, on the slate on the rocky areas. On the larger base I wanted to show a bit of a muddier texture, so I went for Vallejo Earth, which is a nice kind of muddy brown, and I just wanted to show the different kinds of contrast you could get there with the base. So one's very grey and very cold looking, and the other one's maybe a little bit muddier. And there you go, and I'm just adding a little bit of white to the very, very surface here, very light dry brush on the rocky surfaces. Next up, we're going to do a little bit of wash, so I'm going to use my usual kind of black brown wash, which I always use on everything, and I'm just going to cover the kind of just the textured base rather than the slate, and this is just to pick out all that nice definition in the sand and in the paste. I'm also going to put it on the base, which is predominantly rockier, just to really bring out the texture. Next, once that's fully dry, we're going to add a little bit of flock. So I'm just going to add a few bits of PVA to different areas, and I'm using a cocktail stick for this, just because it's pretty intricate work. I don't want to cover the entire base in flock, I don't want to overdo it. I want some of that mud still showing through and some of that rocky texture. So I'm going to use two different colours of flock. I'm going to use a kind of burnt grass or something, or dry grass or something on the right there, and then after that I'm going to use the kind of the dead yellowy coloured grass. After all, it is a wintry kind of base, and you know, grass doesn't really survive too well in colder climates. Alright, well there you go, you've got two pretty decent wilderness looking bases at the moment, but this is a snow flock base tutorial, so I'm going to add some Valhallan Blizzard. This is a Games Workshop texture paint, if you like. It's not really a paint, but it is a flocking medium, so I'm going to mix a little bit with PVA glue because mine had dried up a little bit, having been a while since I've used it, and I just spread it on with a coffee stirrer. And the idea is just to make it look kind of clumpy and smooth, like snow would naturally be. And on the larger base I'm going to use some woodland scenics, snowflake, flock I guess. Just mix a bit of that with an equal amount of PVA glue into a kind of nice fluffy paste. And once you've got the right consistency, you can just spread it on in exactly the same way as you would with the Valhallan Blizzard from Games Workshop. I feel like this stuff goes on a little bit easier, spreads a little bit easier, and maybe looks a little bit better at the end too. Now that's already looking pretty wintry to me, so if you really want to stop there you can do. However, I'm going to take it a little step further and show you guys how to do some icicles. Alright, so I've got this UV resin, and the idea is just to spread it out in a very thin bead on some parchment paper or something where it won't stick, and then use a cocktail stick and drag it into some more icicle like shapes. So just carefully spread it out into some very thin points. And to cure the UV resin, just take a UV torch, a few minutes over that, and then you can just peel it off and cut away the parts that you want to use for icicles. And now I'm actually going to use a little bit more UV resin here to effectively glue those icicles to the bases. So I've just put a little bit on an old cup there, and just spread it onto the surface, the edge of the rock there, with a bit of a cocktail stick, and then very carefully apply the icicle, and then use a UV torch and secure it on. Another one, and again UV torch, 2 minutes, and it's done. Alright, all done. That's two bases, two snow bases. Pretty simple, pretty effective, and I think I prefer actually the larger of the two, which is the woodland scenics. Snow, I'll show you that one very quickly. Which is the woodland scenics method. It produces a bit of a fluffier consistency of snow, which looks more accurate, I think. And obviously you don't have to do the icicles on these bases, but I did because why not? So yeah, hopefully that helps somebody out there in YouTube land, and if you found this video useful or informative or whatever, then feel free to like and comment and subscribe as usual, and I will hopefully get back to you soon with another video. If there's anything that you'd like me to tackle in future, even if it's other kinds of bases, or if you want to see me painting minis or something, I'm not a great painter, but I can do that if you want. Then yeah, let me know and I'll sort something out. That's all for this one. Thanks for watching and happy crafting.